And thank you for tuning in. This is the after party here at the Sports Arena. Man, Eric Wilson, Mike Tenuto, and the sports reporter without pay, my co-host Ray Lynn. So keeping our conversation going, Ray had brought up Patrick Mahomes being at the top. He is the top of the pyramid. Who would our next four be as far as quarterbacks in the AFC? The three that we said consistently over the three of us would be Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson. Ray is definitely making a case for Tua, which we really can't argue considering the fact that I think forever him and Justin Herbert are going to be forever intertwined because they were 5 and 6 respectively in their draft. But again, to what Ray was saying, yeah, Patrick Mahomes, he done beat all of them. I mean, this is why he stays at the level where he is. And like I said earlier, he is here. Your next is here. And I don't care who that person is because he has proven that he just is that dude. So, anything before we move on to our last topic, to our overtime topic tonight, gentlemen?
I just what you just mentioned, I would say Joe Burrow can hang his hat on one thing. Ain't but two people beat him in the playoffs. Burrow and Brady. Burrow is in rare air, right? But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Burrow, in the regular season, I think as you and I have debated that, like in the regular season is one thing for Burrow to, he was up 3-0 before Kansas City beat him, but you split with them and, you take an AFC championship in Kansas City to go. That's Burrow saying the window's his whole career. Of course, what's he going to say to that question? But, look, the thing that's more demoralizing after like what we're saying about Mahomes, what you're saying, Ray, I was going to say to you, like this year is more demoralizing because if you tell me that you're going to host the AFC championship game against the Chiefs and you're going to hold them, that defense is going to hold 15 to 17 points. A lot of people in Baltimore be like, we win in this game. Like, and it's not like, it's just, again, it's the time that you make the plays. Because Eric, that's what we talk about. How do you go from, being in that echelon of being like, okay, a great quarterback to legendary status. I know you mentioned Montana, even back in the day, like no interceptions, comeback victories in the Super Bowl, marching down the field, comeback victories in NFC championship games. There are times they had the lead, they had blowouts in Super Bowls too. But like, even for like the stain of Brady, like people say Brady, and I'm like, well, why don't we talk about Adam Vinatieri in the first three? Because, he blasted through 50-plus yard field goals on a 47-yarder or 49-yarder. So like, it's to me, it's one of those things where if you're Baltimore, that is the most frustrating part. You have the home game, you have the number one seed, you've had the best defense all year. If you want to say the Niners was better, fully healthy, fine. You had the best defense in the AFC all year, and you say, oh, we're only giving 15 and the Chiefs 17 points. They're not even going to get to 20, and they lose. That's the most demoralizing thing. That adds to just the mystique and the legend of 15 and needing a drive to Ray, to your point. Like when you need the drive, you're getting it.
All right, last topic of the night. And again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for staying and tuning in with us. I will say this, we are in overtime. So with that being said, I've got to do this first before we get to the topic.
This program contains graphic material, including offensive language. Viewer discretion is advised.
I got something real heavy to lay on you, man.
Now that's what I need.
Please feel free to join us in the smoking section because we with all the smoke.
For God's sake, strap yourselves down.
All right, so this is what I want to talk about tonight on the Sports Arena, and it is very simply this. So we saw this happen during the Super Bowl. Travis Kelce basically ran up on his coach and is barking from this picture. A.J. Brown wasted no time in saying, if that was me, I would have been kicked out of the league. So, gentlemen, I don't know why I say thank you. I want to talk about it because the Chiefs won. I think this might be people are saying, oh, this is much ado about nothing. But does A.J. Brown have a legitimate point in this?
No, he doesn't.
Why not?
He doesn't. If A.J. Brown would have, I guess, I don't know if it's clickbait and you really want people to pay attention, right? If he says, if that was me, y'all wouldn't stop talking about it. If that was me, I would have got fined. If that was me, whatever. Like the exaggeration of if that was me, I'd have been kicked out of the league is just absurd. Like this happens a lot. Like this happens a lot Like we see coaches on the sideline arguing with their players. It's usually assistant coaches trying to get to, you know, to the players for whatever reason. We see them arguing, yelling, cursing at each other. We've never really seen that from Kelce, not to that extent. So maybe the shock factor of people going, wow. And then people instantly go, oh, if that was somebody else, it would have been like, would they be making a bigger deal about it? I don't know. Maybe players' reputations have a lot to do with that. We do know, and I probably get where you're going with this. We do know like the difference in dynamics when a diva, quote unquote, black athlete carries himself a certain way on the sideline and is looked at one way. And then when when a white athlete does it, it's passion, right? Like when a black guy does it, is he's a spoiled athlete, he's acting like a brat. When a white guy does, it's like, oh, he's passionate, right? The whole Cam Newton versus Tom Brady type thing, right? When Cam Newton does X, Y, Z on the sideline, oh, look at him, he's being spoiled, he's being this. When Brady does it, it's passionate, he's firing up the guys. I get it. If you want to say that the media will treat this differently, by all means. But like his exaggeration makes it hard for me to side with him or agree with him or see his point. It's like, bro, nobody getting kicked out of nobody, especially not AJ Brown, who acted like a diva all year, is getting kicked out of the league for that, right? Like you may be ridiculed, the media may talk about you, may get fined, whatever you want to call it. Like, but his exaggeration, that was me, they'd kick me out the league. No, they wouldn't have. Like, you're a superstar player, right? AJ Brown's a superstar. Like first 7 to 10 weeks of the season, you could have put him right in that conversation with those guys we mentioned earlier. The Justin Jeffersons, the Stephon Diggs, the Devontae Adams, the Tyreek Hill. Like AJ Brown was playing as well as any of those guys. And then I don't know what happened like the last 8 weeks of the season, but
Eagles fell off. We already know what happened. The Eagles fell the hell off. It's okay. It's all right.
But listen, you if you recall, even going back to week 5, 6, 7, we kept saying, man, the Eagles don't look right. You kept saying, as long as they winning. Yeah, they don't look right, but we winning. And we kept saying, but what's wrong? But even when it was what's wrong with the Eagles, there was nothing wrong with AJ Brown. Right? Like he was balling. I think he had a stretch. We had like 5 or 6 games straight of 125 yards and a touchdown or something, whatever it was. Something weird like that, right? So he was balling, man, and then he kind of wasn't. But again, you know, if the point he's making is nobody's gonna say anything because it's Travis Kelce, he ain't lying. But the extreme exaggeration makes it hard to even hear your point out. Where it's like they would have kicked me out the league. No, they wouldn't have, bro. Like players do this all the time. You know how many times Randy Moss argued with coaches on the sideline? You see some of the antics Antonio Brown pulled, and nobody cared because you produce when you're on the field, right? So again, it's one of those, you know, the people want the mighty to have fallen at some point. It's like, oh, they let old, you know, poster child. You know, we see the commercials, Mahomes and Auto. I don't know if y'all seen that. That's hilarious.
Yeah, I've seen them.
Right. You know, you see old Auto on the sideline getting physical with his coach, and you know, of course, you're gonna have people that go, oh, he's being spoiled. All those same things. Then you're gonna have people go, oh, he's just being passionate. Both are true, right? He could have done that a different way, right? But then he is who he is. So like, I don't. And the thing is, I'm equal across the board. When other players do it, like I don't care who do it. Like it's like, hey, they fired up, whatever, right? Like I'm all grown men on them sidelines. But again, my biggest issue is how much AJ Brown is exaggerating to make his point. It's like, that's not true. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, I mean, there is a famous one here. I mean, Eric, you talk about my backyard, but I mean, he left for Pittsburgh, I think the year or two after the Super Bowl or whatever. Whisenhunt got fired, but Todd Haley, I mean, there he was going back and forth. I mean, Anquan Boldin was PO'd in the championship game, Ray, that he wasn't on the field. Now he wasn't. He was talking. He was drawn at Todd Haley as they're looking at the field, and Todd Haley finally just turned. I mean, we all know there's 25,000 cameras. Todd Haley turned around and basically told him what he can go do with himself. And yes, Anquan Boldin was on the field 2 plays later, like and was there for a while. So it's one of those things where, I mean, yeah, people say, well, it was Anquan Boldin, but I mean, Des Bryant had his blowups. AJ Brown, even, I mean, this year, like, what's he talking about? Like he and Eric, you're saying they fell off. He voiced his frustration because, I mean, early on, like I said, after the Washington games and stuff like that, early on, like AJ Brown, the seasons he's had, I mean, even in Tennessee when they just ran the damn ball, but getting to Philadelphia, seeing what we all knew AJ Brown was. And I mean, so yeah, when I saw that too, I was like, you have got to be kidding me. Like I'm with Ray. That's what I thought. I'm like, do you really need clickbait? Like, I mean, Des Bryant blew up. How many times did we see T.O. blow up? Niners sideline, Cowboys sideline, Eagles sideline. Like, he had his blow-ups. Now, certain coaches are going to handle it differently and not put up with the crap, as you know, because when he was in Philly, I mean, Andy Reid's going to be, okay, yeah, you good luck with that. But, like, it's one of those things where, oh, well, T.O. does it. Oh, yeah, he's a D, this and that. They're just pointing it out. I mean, it sucks when another player has to come to – because when Des Bryant did it, Jason Witten's like, I just went over to tell him I agree. He's right. But we got to channel it the right way. It was actually right when they were in Detroit. I'll never forget that game. Des Bryant was pissed off because, I mean, yeah, it's not just, oh, I'm open one time. He was saying it, and he goes, Des wasn't ripping anybody. He was mad. He was expressing himself, but he's like, guys, we need to do this. And Jason Witten's like, hey, you are right. Let's direct it this way. But people went after Des Bryant. But come on, out of the league? I mean, especially not A.J. Brown.
Hey, Mike. It's one of those things, man, I think where fans kind of rub off on the players, man. It's the Philadelphia Eagles always crying about something to do about nothing. You know how you do it.
All I'm saying is, in an era in which we live today, unfortunately, the cancer culture is a real thing. So
now, if it was Antonio Brown, it might be a different story.
Okay, but it's the level of, okay, I go back to the expectation. All right. We knew there towards the end, Antonio Brown was going to eventually fall off. It was not a matter of if, it was a matter of when, based on what his social media presence, like, he fed into who he became, not who he was. In the era in which we live today, you are absolutely right. It's passion. You're fired up. You're hyped. It's a Super Bowl. However, there is a certain way to conduct yourself. All right. And I just think with there being 50,000 cameras and the profile of his stature that has risen just this season alone, not just because of who he is, but because of who his brother is, and because of who he's dating, and because of his mama. You know what I mean? It's like,
I would just like to say, nobody cares who his brother is. Carry on here.
Wow, Ray is fired.
All right. You can say what
I
you
love
want.
this OT, baby.
You can say anything you want, but he is still by far the best center in all the NFL, retired or not. Okay, that's all I'm saying.
I will say this, Eric. I agree with your point that one, he could have and should have handled it differently. Two, it's that much more magnified being on the stage it was. And three, if I was Kansas City, I would fine him actually. Right? Again, my response is to the actual tweet, right? It's like, you're exaggerating. I mean, but I think the bigger issue or the underlying point he was trying to make was the difference in how, you know, how those situations are typically covered or responded to, right? Because they asked him after the game, they asked Andy Reid after the game, you know, and Travis Kelce said, well, you know, I'll leave that between us unless something mic'd up caught us. If they didn't, then I was just telling him how much I love him, right? And then Andy Reid said, well, you know, man, he's just passionate and he wants to be on the field and he want to make plays.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Said, if anything, he just caught me off guard, right? Like, I'm just saying, you know, how they responded to it. And if you read his lips, he said something along the lines of, get me the effing ball or something like that. Like, you could kind of see he was like, right. And you saw what happened in the second half. He went like 1 target, 1 reception, 1 yard in the first half. Second half was like 8 receptions, 82, something,
9 targets, 8 receptions for 92 yards.
Yeah, so like, I mean,
but here's the thing, like Sean Payton,
but I'd find him for sure.
I don't know. I mean, Sean Payton, I'm not talking about
because he touched him, Mike.
All right, yeah, and Sean Payton wasn't talking about that, but Sean Payton's like, yeah, when receivers were saying something, or I mean, even when he was, the OC in Dallas where he took over in New Orleans all those years ago, like he even said, he's like, you know how many times like players will come over and say they're not yelling at you. He goes, now I'm not saying a player came over and like, you know, pushed him down and said, you know, throw me the ball, or like we've seen on sidelines before with the cameras, to your point too, Eric, that like players have gotten in between coaches and other players have gotten in between because so-and-so keeps yelling. And it's like, they're so pissed off. They get to that point where you see red. Okay. Yeah. You want that fire, that competitive. Sean Payton's like, I have no problem with a player coming, but have a solution. Like, okay, I'm trying to get you the ball. What's your solution to this? Don't just start yapping away. But yeah, I mean, I think bumping into him and saying, give me the ball. Yes, fine. I could definitely see. I don't disagree with that at all. If the team did it internally, I mean, I don't think, bump in or, he wants the ball. He's frustrated. He feels like he is open and he's not doing it, every single time. But yeah, I mean, definitely a fine. Now, if AJ Brown would have said, if I'd have done that, I'd have been fine. I'd have been like, he's 100% right, because most players, you touch your own coach, team's going to fine you. Any position coach.
And to that comment, right? Where Dom's like, oh, we talking about, what about the Swifties watching at home? It's not that, man. I think that's kind of in response to you, Eric, saying his stats are rising this year. That's a fact. Yeah, right? It's an article out about, like, Travis Kelce had the number 4 highest selling jersey in the NFL this year, and is one of those heaviest the head that wears the crown. Like, with what comes with that territory, right? You're no longer just a player. You're no longer just the best tight end on your team or the best tight end in football now, or even the best tight end of this era. You're now an icon, and it kind of happened. Like, you're already good, but now you're dating a pipe icon. So now there's more eyes on you. And then now they putting you in these commercials. Like, you're becoming one of the faces of the league now. That matters, right? Like, you're kind of held to a higher standard. I don't think it have nothing to do with the fact that, it's just because he's dating Taylor Swift and her fans are going.
Oh, no, there was a number of.
No, not you, E. I'm talking about, like, if you look at Dom's comment, like, he's saying, y'all saying Travis can't do this because of the Swifties watching at home. No. I think the whole Taylor Swift thing is just the idea that now with him dating her, we all saw his popularity rise to a different height, right? And with that popularity comes a different kind of responsibility and how you have to carry yourself. There was another outburst during the game and nobody's even talking about it. Nobody. Do we remember the guy? I can't even think of who it was. It was one of the Kansas City Chiefs. He was wide open and he was pissed. Rashad Rice.
Rasheed Rice.
Pissed.
Yeah. Rice was
He's pissed. He's wide open. I mean, he was on the sideline going off. Ain't nobody talked about it not once. The cameras didn't even go back and show it again. They talked about it briefly, and then they showed the play. They're like, oh, he was wide open, right? And that was the end of it. But you're Travis Kelce, right? Like, it's like when one of the quarterbacks go on the side and break something. Who was that that messed up their finger hitting something on the sideline earlier this year? When stuff like that happens and you're a star, it's different. So, like, Travis Kelce being who he is, possibly the greatest tight end of all time, right? It's a little different when you do something like that on the sideline because everybody knows who you are and you're representing the brand now.
Right. I mean, bumping into Andy Reid, again, not cool. It's saying give me the ball, but I just bring it back to what you say about AJ Brown. Like, why do you need click? Because AJ Brown could do the same thing, and I would look at it, and I had the same response like yesterday. So I was like, yeah, you shouldn't bump into your coach, but if I'm any receiver, tight end / receiver, like, you've only been targeted like once. And I get it. Like, Mahomes isn't just like, he's not just locking in on one target. We know that. We know he's scanning the field, but hey, sometimes the rush gets there. I mean, the Niners at times, I mean, they were getting there. They're pushing the line of scrimmage.
So let me ask this question really quick to both of you. All right. Had they lost, would this be a bigger issue?
Yes.
Okay.
No, to me, no, it happened. In the media, absolutely, right? Like, it's just what happens. If we beat San Francisco, nobody cares that Dan Campbell went for it, right? But when you lose, everything you did is under microscope. If they stop Kansas City 3 and out, if Mahomes goes for that 4th down, and he gets tripped, and they stop him right before, and San Francisco wins the game. Nobody cares that Shanahan took the ball first. But they lost, right? When you lose, every decision, every event, everything that happens get put under a microscope, under a magnifying glass. So, like, now that they won, it's like, no harm, no foul. Had they lost, it must gonna be the end of the Chiefs. They lost the Super Bowl. It was a blow up on the sideline. Travis Kelce, oh my God, it'd be memes and everything.
I see what you're saying, what the media would have said, but with Eric asking us, I'm with you. I say no because he's still. If they lose, if they lose,
I know. I saw that. And hold on, real quick, Dom. I'm not going to unless you buying my ticket. I'm not going to Brazil. I'd love to go, but I'm not going to Brazil. But if you buying, let's go.
Exactly, and you got to take all 3 of us, Dom. So just remember that. No, but
Mike, you can't come to an Eagles game.
Oh, I would go in Brazil. I speak a little bit of the Espanol and the Portuguese.
You sit on the other side.
In
That's
full
fine.
Cowboys gear too.
No, I would not be that person because they're not playing. The Cowboys aren't playing them. I would never be that person. Eric knows that, Ray. I'm not the person that's going to a game. If I'm going to a Lions-Eagles game with you and Eric, I am not wearing any Cowboys garb. I'd probably wear Lions garb just because I don't want garbage touching my skin, but that's a whole different story.
What, Mike? Funny you bring that up. Not about the garbage, but I've always said, and you know this better than anybody, I have always said the only way I'm going to Jerry World is if it's Eagles Cowboys in the NFC Championship game. You realize that almost happened this year.
I know.
I would have had to man up and go to Dallas. I was like,
I thought it was going to happen. I thought it was going to happen last year, actually. I thought it was really going to happen last year too. But no, I will say this: to me, yeah, Ray. Every point you made about the media saying, "Oh, the overreaction and the ridiculousness," would have been there saying, "Oh, the domino effect after Kelsey did that." If he still gets to what we just said, 9 targets and 8 catches for 92 yards in the second half, you can say all you want, but that's not the reason why they lost because he was more involved in the second half with the touchdown. So that part, I'm with you. I think it would have been a conversation, but I don't.
Like I said, I just wanted to bring it up. It was a topic, and I wanted to know if it was much ado about nothing or not. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us here on the Overtime Smoking Section edition of the Sports Arena. Again, Sports Reporter Alpay Ray Lynn, Mike Carrot, Tenuto, and your man Eric Wilson. We will see y'all. Mike and I will be together next Monday night live in Indianapolis at the 2024 National Scouting Combine. Much love to everybody. Peace.